Welcome everyone to the Toku Portal podcast. It's me, Zero, here with.
Right. Welcome to Kamen Rider Zi-O, episode 34. Uh, so, we pick up right where we left off with Kiria transforming into his Oni form, which is not Hibiki. Uh, gets disappointed because this whole thing was a trap for Hibiki, so he takes another Hibiki and bails. Uh, and then Todoroki starts scolding Kiria about what it means to be an Oni. And I like that. Todoroki was kind of the goof off rookie back during the series, so it's nice to see how he's matured into a respectable Oni.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to see his character continuation because, like, you think, like, he would do what his master did is, like, like, get a pupil to carry on, like, the Oni stuff, but it's like, no. And be kind of more of a chill dude doing his own thing, but no, because of what happened in the show and stuff, he's just become, like, more hardened and just trying to live up to his master's legacy. So that's an interesting way his character went. I mean, like that's kind of the nice things about these like continuations in Zi-O, or the good ones anyway. It's like you kind of see interesting character, and you see like where they could go. Like this is sort of like in Rider Tyson when you see Kamen Rider X and you find out that he became a doctor to follow in his dad's footsteps, who used to be a scientist to help people, and then he helps Fies, and that sets up like the Fies movie stuff. So I'm like, it's pretty interesting having these continuations.
Yeah, like this could this like could straight up just be the epilogue to Hibiki.
I mean, they don't mention the foundation at all, but they mention like characters from it because like Todoroki basically goes, "Oh, I wonder what insert character name here." Um, he's talking about who he kind of was like dating and stuff, and she used to work in the organization helping out Hibiki and stuff.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, at least they referenced that later on in the episode, so that's cool. So it's like they're around. It's just like I guess Todoroki's just kind of on a field trip or whatever for a couple days, not going back to base. Because I'm
I
like,
mean,
this
it
seems. I mean, like I know the Oni live like more camping and type of because they usually fight stuff in like the wilderness, so they
right.
spend a couple days out there.
It's
So I'm
not
like, I was thinking like, yeah, go ahead.
it's not uncommon for Oni to spend time in solidarity out in the wilderness, or in this case, by a riverside, uh, because that is like they train themselves constantly. So, in this case, Todoroki is probably just practicing his survival skills.
Right. Um, Yeah, it could be that. One of the funnier thing comes on later on when like Waz is washing the cloth and it's like what is it? It's a loin cloth? What the hell? And I'm like, oh, that's actually really funny because like so the thing is like if you haven't seen Hibiki, you don't know this, but if you have, you'd remember is the Hibiki riders whenever they transform, their clothes literally burn the fuck off. So right, they have to remember to de-henshin properly. Like that's one of the things they can like just deactivate their mask, and you're like, okay, that's cool and all, but like, why would you do that? It's like it's because if they don't do that and they just like let go of the full henshin, they're fucking naked.
Which
So, so
Todoroki
yeah,
does
so,
on his
yeah,
graduation day.
yeah, he does. He's such a dumbass. Which is one of the fun parts, and then like again, yeah, like Oni operate outside, which is one of those funny things because they have like cameras, like the organization has cameras to monitor them just in case something happens. And you see just Todoroki just like killing monsters and then like fucking shredding his guitar like in the battlefield, and they're like, what is he doing? What is this weird? Okay, this is one of those like weird arcs that when like Inoue came back and took over, it like Hibiki became a little more like comedic, like weird comedic. So it's one of those things that are like, oh, I old people can't understand what the young generation is doing. Basically, that's the storyline. But like, it's
Right. He was kind of
like
like
clearly he's just partying, bro. He just like slashed a
he,
monster to death.
he's like
And
doing
there,
his own
I,
little
I
like
love.
purification ritual.
Yeah, right. I love their bullshit conclusion of like, oh, maybe it's a purification. I love how like they say that, but they all kind of know that's bullshit. But they're like, well, let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
Right. They all like team up to kill that one monster together, and then Hibiki's like, "Oh, aren't you gonna do that thing?" And Totoro's like, "No, no, not with you guys here."
Yeah, I know, it's so good. It's so fun. The weirdest thing is like they keep talking about their masters and stuff, and I'm like, all right, we're not gonna get original Hibiki, right? But like, it should have just flashed back to Todoroki's master, especially because like next week it's like it's the Kiva one, and you see Jiro there. I'm like, you couldn't just call the guy in for like one flashback, right? Like, okay, so also people who haven't seen like Hibiki and Kiva, the person who's Jiro in Kiva, uh, is Todoroki's master and is like one of the writers in Hibiki. He's also in the movie, but he's a different writer, same actor, different writer.
Oh, that's
In
confusing.
the Hibiki movie. Yeah, he like so that's one of the weird things where it's like new Hibiki without the name kid, right? Freaking Xernos over here. When he goes like white form, I'm like that's kind of similar to what like Todoroki's master looks like in that movie, but like he's like a totally different character. So I'm like that's weird seeing that suit. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Like Hibiki is an interesting show. It's also one of those weird things where it's like, yeah, you can like literally continue it from anywhere because that's the whole point of the Hibiki writers is like it's a legacy thing. Well, Kiva is more of a legacy thing. Hibiki, it's more of an organization. It's basically like a joke around. It's the best Sentai Kamen Rider ever made, um, right? Because it's a Sentai premise of monsters are attacking all over Japan. Get a team together and go fight them. Right.
Like
Except in this,
you
it's
have
like monsters have
monsters
been
breeding monsters.
right. Monsters also they've been attacking Japan for like hundreds of years.
Oh yeah.
So like yeah, so it's just like you train the next generation. And then so yeah, this is one of those weird things where it's like we said it's weird that he's trying to get Hibiki's title even though like technically Todoroki didn't take on his master title. But then I forgot that like Todoroki wanted to take his master's title,
No,
but
he
his master's
didn't.
like no,
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 it's
he
the other
did.
way around. Zonky was going to make Todoroki the new Zonky because he was retiring from his injury, and Todoroki said, "No, no, I can't accept that. I want you to remain Zonky."
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, so the thing is like you get a choice whether you inherit the title or you pick your own one. So
I
like I guess the
guess. I
new
mean,
Hibiki
like,
well it's like an agreement because like you're carrying the name, right? Like Hibiki if he wanted to pass it along and then people's like cool and then Hibiki would be like, okay, yeah, you're new Hibiki now. Right?
like in
Uh,
like in the series, Zonky was the only like title we heard about getting passed on. So I don't know.
yeah, I mean I just count it as like it's been going on for so long like you can get the title if you wanted to. So like when they're all going about like, oh, you didn't inherit the title, I'm like, technically he should have his own name, but I'm like, yeah, technically he can just inherit it if Hibiki was okay with it. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Like, especially because it's like, okay, well, he's Hibiki continuation from the thing, and then like he has his own people, so it's like, oh, you've already set up the next Hibiki, um, which is kind of interesting. but that's later on. Anyway,
Uh,
we
in
yeah,
in the
continue.
stage show, uh, Kiria Zeronos' Oni name is Kyoki instead.
Yeah, um, but like state shows are weird because like sometimes you count them canon, but most of the time it's like
Right
they
here, that's
don't
not
because
canon
what
because he doesn't have his that name.
right. Um, the weirdest thing is like he does like the whole thing and like the watch just shows up. I'm like, how did that happen? Like that's
Well, we'll get to
like
that.
yeah. I'm like okay.
I wanted to say one more thing about like the whole clothes thing. Is that in Hibiki, Ibuki, like his girlfriend is taking him out clothes shopping, and Ibuki straight up says, "I don't know what to buy because they're just gonna get destroyed anyways."
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Um, which is kind of sad, but it's one of those like interesting. Like Hibiki is really an interesting take because they account for like somewhat reality of fighting, where it's like, okay, one, you mentioned clothes gone, right? You get injured, well, you can heal, but like only if you have the energy to heal, right? Like there are different types of like oni and different like so there's like close range guys and like far range specialists and then people who are trained to fight in like on the ground and like people who can fight in water and like air and stuff. Well, air you don't really see, but um there's people who train to like take out like the special monsters, there's people who train to like take out like rogue oni. um there's like the whole legacy thing. Like there's the pupil master system, there's the organization, there's like the way that the gadgets are built, thing you have to do to train. Then you have to actually travel all over Japan. Like plus there's like dozens and dozens of oni working around the country in any time. Um, and then like there's a lot of shit. Like especially with like their familiars. You know how like all the shows, like especially post decade, have like helper familiar things like helping them out.
What?
Like Wizard definitely uses them. Like you know, in Wizard, there's like the Falcon and like the
Oh,
unicorn and all that, right?
oh yeah,
But
and
like
O's
Hibiki
has
is
all
like
the
the first.
can animals.
Yeah, right. O's has the kind of like O's and Hibiki are probably the few ones that actually use them well enough, but definitely Hibiki is the one that really started it off because like
Yeah, Hibiki
Hibiki
definitely
they'll be
started
like
it.
it's a forest. How am I supposed to find jack shit? It's not like
Right.
normal Rider where
Sin.
it's like oh the monster's attacking you know in like a strip mall or something.
The answer: magic robot animals.
Right. And the thing is they spread out and like not one like they have like crates of them and they just like open them and like go search out find it come back and report to me and then so like the oni can go and fight the thing.
I love
They
it,
also have
especially
like
like
stealth mode.
I was gonna say I love it, especially when they explain that like the disc animals are like modern technology and they used to use origami once.
Yeah, yeah, that's the coolest thing because like in hibiki they go down in like the basement secret lair thing and you see like the older tech is just there and them working on the new stuff. I mean like you don't really see it but it's cool seeing like oh we have like the old records and the scrolls and all that but like it's been like hundreds of years so we got to look through this shit to find out what's going on. um it's like a really interesting lived in world. I also like when they go into the city and they're like yeah we normally don't operate here so switch all the disc animals to stealth mode which means they basically become invisible. That was kind of cool. It's like one episode though.
All right.
Yeah.
Uh, so we cut to Waz wallowing in his misery, uh, and like he's lying on the ground, and then he pulls out his book and he begins doing the like info cap, and it's like these are becoming more and more meta. Like early series, it would just cut to like a black room with Waz like sitting in a chair or standing or something as he reads out the book, and then lately it's like whatever scene was going on would freeze, and then he would walk in from off camera to do it. Now it's they're just doing it like in scene.
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty. That was yeah. I mean, maybe they're building to something because like Waz is starting to do the whole thing of like Trinity. We'll get to that. But like Trinity, and he announces like we are the kings who will make the new future. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And yeah, so like as soon as Trinity showed up, Waz started more acting more and more weird.
Like
Um,
I'm just wait. Like I feel like if this is building up to something, I'm waiting for the episode where Waz like just does the episode recap in front of like Sogo and Gaze, and they where they actually like hear him and see him doing it, and they're just super fucking confused.
yeah, see, you thought of that. What I was thinking is like, oh, he's doing the recap, and then it cuts to like I don't know, like reverse flash or something. Oh no, the recaps isn't for the viewer. He's just conveying information to whoever. Like Omazio's just sitting there watching
Oh
TV or
right, like
something.
he's Omazio's just constantly like on point and like making sure the history is what it should be.
Right? Like that would be an interesting tie back. I also love how like it cuts to Waz and he's like fucking tired out, like worn out because he partied too hard, trying to think of a solution. Man, he's freaking great this episode. Also, like Waz is fucking skinny. It's just like it's one of those like things that like this happened in like X8 also when like Hero takes off the lab coat, like you forget how skinny these fuckers are. Um, until they like change outfits and they're like, oh yeah, right, they're like barely adults, right, doing this writer shit. Especially holy shit, like that freaking Ryuki special when it cut back to like Sogo and Gate, and you're like, who the fuck are these children after all that insanity, right? Like that was the most jarring, but like yeah, whenever like a writer changes their outfit, you definitely notice like, oh yeah, they're so freaking young.
So, uh, we get confirmation that Tsutomu, another Hibiki, was Kiria's student, not actual Hibiki's. Uh, you were right about that because that's what you were saying.
Yeah, because like I'm like, it would be weird for Hibiki to like take a pupil. Like I don't mind him like being like, oh, I'll teach another kid, but I'm like, it's he's a little too young. Because like Hibiki would know, like as Ibuki was telling like Akira, like yeah, it's cool and all that you want to be like an oni, but like you gotta live your own life. Like once you're done high school, then we can do this oni shit. But like until then, like get your life together, you know.
Oh man,
So him
like
doing it like yeah, go ahead.
I don't, I don't know if you saw this because you didn't finish Hibiki. Like Kiria legit drops out of school to train to be an Oni, and the first thing Hibiki tells him to do is enroll in school.
Right? Like he becomes one of those dudes where it's like, okay, yeah, this Oni shit, like it may work out, it may not, dude. Like you gotta have backup,
Also, a
right?
proper
Especially in Japan.
education.
Right? Like how even Hibiki says, like, dude, I barely passed high school, right? But like at least I still passed, so you still have to do it. You know? So yeah, at least like social responsibility. Like yeah, this Kamen Rider shit is cool and all, but like you gotta take care of yourself first. Which is one of the more interesting things about Hibiki. It's a little more grounded, even with all the freaking giant monster battles. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Like, so if you haven't seen Hibiki, Hibiki is one of those weird writers where it's like half the time, or at least like most of the time, early on, they fight giant.
It wasn't supposed
So
to be
this
a Rider
bullshit.
series.
Yeah, yeah, I know, but like this bullshit of people constantly being like, "Oh right," especially when like the Tysons were happening, where it's like, "All right, what are the writers gonna do? A giant monster showed up." I'm like, Have you seen any writer show,
This
especially like
this is literally Hibiki's
middle
thing.
life?
Giant monsters.
Yeah, it's Hibiki. Right. Like Jay, Hibiki, Kiba, Blade, like literally like most of them are fought giant monsters. Like
Hibiki
more than one.
Hibiki himself even takes on like because there are the three types of Oni that focus in special different categories like close range, mid range, and long range. Hibiki takes on all three types by himself, even like the long range, which is his weakness.
Right. It's because like he's so trained. But that's why basically he's the number one guy in the organization is because like he's the guy who didn't let like his close range weakness stop him from doing all that. And that's why he's constantly training is because he knows like yeah, he's good in a close up fight, but like if he slacks off and like a different type shows up, he's fucked. So he always has to keep training.
So Sogo and Tsukuyomi head off to do I don't know, and Waz is being all mopey, so Sogo pulls him with him, and they leave Gaze to watch over Kiria. Uh, they go meet Todoroki and like ask him about Kiria because Kiria won't fucking tell them anything.
He's such a little shit. I wonder if the person who wrote Xaid remembered this piece of shit character of like, oh yeah, that's the guy who doesn't talk and named Laser Kyria. Probably not, but like it's a fun coincidence. Like the two Kyrias in this damn franchise are the ones that don't like talking.
Well, in Hibiki, Kiria, he like actually did talk a lot to Asumu to like boast himself up because being around someone like Asumu who made him like he perceived as beneath him made him feel better.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Maybe they're just like rolling in it like a little bit of Xernos.
With that being said, Kiria did straight up lie a lot. Like, he straight up fakes a leg injury to get out of gym class, and then after school, like, just starts hanging out with Asumu and is walking perfectly fine.
I know, right? He's like such a piece of shit when he shows up. I mean, that's kind of the point though of his character is like he's a real shit until like Hibiki like straightens him out. Whereas like kid, like why are you acting out like this? Right? Like
Because
you
he's mad at his
clearly
dad.
wanted. Yeah, kind of. I mean, to be fair, it's one of those like complicated situations where it's like, yeah, his dad's a hero. Everybody says his dad's a hero, but like to him, it's like it's some guy who left his family and got killed, right?
He
Um,
wanted to, like, be a better hero than his dad was, but because his dad passed away as a firefighter, like, he didn't have that guy there to surpass. Like, there was no way to, like, measure himself up against him.
yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm thinking it's mostly just like everybody constantly talking to him and saying like how great his dad was, and his like resentment built up, which is like a really interesting like character thing because like very rarely does something like that come up where it's like yeah, this person did a heroic thing, but like it still had negative consequences that they didn't intend. Um, but like the person who has this negative view isn't like really a bad person. It's just they kind of got messed up. Um, so it's like this interesting thing of legacy. I mean, like especially considering like this is similar to this is like a better version of the thing from Blade, where it's like the girl that Blade saves where she's like super pissed off and she doesn't care about like heroics at
She,
all because like her family's fucking dead. And so it's like, like self-sacrifice ain't cool when like you fucking leave like basically your whole family dies trying to save you. So it's one of those like weird things where it's like, okay, Kabuto, parents dead, king of the world, right?
right.
Um
He owned.
right, like
He took that opportunity and went, I'm going to make sure none of my family ever dies again.
right. And then Blade, where it's like, okay, well, parents dead, trying to save me, didn't get a rider belt, so
I am
what?
going to
Like my
protect everyone.
yeah, yeah. Oh, you're talking about yeah, Blade with the fire thing. I was talking about the girl, but like yeah,
Yeah.
there's the interesting take where it's like they're similar except one got a belt and one didn't. Right? It's like it's a little easier to save everyone when you can be a writer, not so much when you're not. And then that kind of goes into like Asumu also, not Asumu, Kiryu, where it's like you always hear like how great this person was, but then like the reality is like they're not around, right? Like they thought saving somebody else was better than being there for your family. And it's like, yeah, they did something heroic, but like every time you miss your dad, every time somebody says he's great, it kind of fucking twists a little bit of that and messes you up inside, I guess.
Yeah, I can
And
see
then
that.
like Kiva's another interesting take where it's like you hear like your dad's great and you try to live up to this like insane legacy just to find out your dad's kind of a piece of shit, but like at the end of the day he was still a good guy. And so he just tells you like live your own life, like you don't gotta live up to my legacy. So it's like for a couple of years we have this really interesting trend of this like very different conclusions to basically the same type of setup, which we don't really see nowadays. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Uh, so they talk to Todoroki. They learn a bit about what it means to be an oni, and Todoroki explains that he doesn't have a pupil because he doesn't feel confident in himself as being a teacher. Uh, but Soga realizes like, hey, Waz is going through some mopey shit right now. Why don't you take him on as a pupil for a day and just dumps him on Todoroki and then bails?
Yeah, I love how like Todoroki is like, no, 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 no,
Oh,
well, I guess you're here now. And then like they work hard, and then he's like, "Oh, this ain't so bad." Like he's not just at first. I'm like, "Are you just using him?" But I'm like, "That's not true. That's not the type of guy you are." You see him like getting ready to make him food and stuff. I'm like, "Oh, that's nice." And like he just leaves. I'm like, "Ah, fuck." Like this is one of those moments. Like I wish like returning writers could stay because it would have been so cool to have like Todoroki and have Waz as a student at least for a
right.
couple episodes. That would have been cool.
Uh, so Kiria looks at the yearbook and he sees Sutomu, like 8-year-old Sutomu's comment about how great Hibiki is, referring to Kiria. Uh, so they all run out and go look for another Hibiki. Meanwhile, Waz is doing laundry in the river. And then Todoroki makes him collect rocks to build the campfire. And that just sounds like a lot of manual work. But that's kind of what it is. Being a Hibiki, being an Oni rather, is part of it is just being like the best you that you can be. And so all this like manual work and doing things yourself, that's a big aspect of it.
Right, especially because it kind of builds character because like one you have to be physically strong, two you always have to be fit,
You have to be
uh,
persistent and determined.
persistent and determined, and plus the thing is like you have to be self-reliant because like when shit goes bad, like yeah, there are other Oni, but they could be like a whole different
Right.
province or state away from you. Like they'll get there, but
We,
you might be fucking dead
when
by
you
the
are
time they get
assigned
there.
to go after a Makamo, you are expected to be there.
Right. Like, I mean, there's very special cases when they summon like two or three Oni in one place. But like, if they send you out, like, they expect you to kill the monster and come back in one piece because, like, yeah, there's dozens of Oni, but like, Japan's still a big place. It's got lots of monsters.
uh, Waz just kind of like, so Todoroki asks why Waz is so upset, and Waz like kind of explains to him that he doesn't know how to properly celebrate Sogo's birthday, and Todoroki just says, Well, isn't just being by someone's side like great in itself?
Yeah, that was an interesting message. I mean, like it's he's what he's saying is correct. Um, but it's also kind of like from his point of view because like he misses his master and stuff like that. Whereas like you know, like if I could just fight side by side or whatever with them, that would be great too, right? Like I don't need anything else. Um, so he's kind of just putting a little bit of his backstory into giving that message, which is good because that's how you should always write characters. Like inform what the character says from the character's past. So that's good.
Uh, Sogo and Kiria uh, sit down, kiss, and make up. Uh, no, but for real. Uh, they, like, Sogo convinces Kira, they're like, hey, Tsutomu sees you as Hibiki. It doesn't matter if you didn't officially inherit the title. To him, you're a great person. So why don't you be that great person?
Yeah, Soga's getting good at these writer speeches too. So I guess he's leveling up. So that's nice. Because he used to be real shit at these at the
Yeah,
beginning.
now that he doesn't, like, just, go on a tirade about how he's going to be king every, like, scene.
I love how like even later on, like everybody's like, yeah, fine, whatever, kid. You seem okay. Go be a king or whatever. Like they're still like weirded out by his nonsense, but they're like, you seem like okay enough person for me to trust you for now. Yeah. So at least there's that.
Uh, they go find another Hibiki at an abandoned warehouse. Kiria uh, calls Tsutomu out, saying, like, hey, you were a great pupil and you helped make me a better person because I got to experience being a teacher. And then the Hibiki watch appears in his pocket. Uh, and Kira wonders if he this is him being acknowledged as inheriting the Hibiki title, and like light shines in from the window, and I think the original Hibiki is fucking dead.
Yep. Yep. He's super dead. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, we've given like new Hibiki and he has a pupil. I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Old Hibiki is dead. He's never coming back now. Um, but yeah, especially with the light in the window thing, I'm like, oh, okay, that's why there's no new Hibiki. The old one is straight up dead now. Um, which is a little sad, but I'm like, that actor is never coming back.
Yeah, like I was thinking about it the other day. How do you solve a problem with an actor that you are never going to bring back? It works really well with the Oni, I guess, because there's that whole like inheriting title thing. I don't think that's supposed to come with inheriting the exact same suit, but I guess in this case he had the Hibiki watch, so
Right, so that's the only leeway I can give is the watch. But it's like, where did the watch come from? Like, the watches don't do this. They're not fucking icons. Even icons don't work like this, right? Like,
here's
this is
my
some.
yeah, like okay, so at this point we've glossed over the part where Sogo has to go back in time and give a blank watch to that rider so that it becomes their ride watch in the future. This part, like, okay, this is actually confusing. Does Sogo go back and give it to Hibiki before he dies, and then Hibiki just takes it with him to the afterlife?
Right? He went to the ghost afterlife, and then came back as a fourth ghost for 10 seconds to give his watch away. Um, right? Like, I don't know what the hell was going on. Like, this is kind of a thing that happens in Ghosts. So I guess technically in the Rider Afterlife, you can just hand your power over at the McGuffin. Um,
The Hibiki icon became the Hibiki ride watch.
yeah, pretty much, right? Right? Like, it's at least fucking Sogo didn't get a power up out of it, unlike Ghost, where like his red form is his dad's one. Which is a really cool ass suit, but like Ghost actually has
Hold on.
really nice suits to
You,
be honest. But that show is weird. Um,
I need to
but
check
yeah,
something now,
yeah,
though.
like the what?
No, go on. Keep talking.
Okay, yeah. So the weird thing is like that was so just like Deus Ex Machina shit, where it's like, oh right, we need the watch somehow. Here you go. I'm like,
Oh.
okay, it's not a freaking lock seat. It's not a goddamn ring. It's not an icon. Like, it's not a fucking Osman. Like, half of those things don't even work like this, but I could kind of give it a pass. The watches specifically don't work like this, right?
Right.
Because you have to seal somebody. Okay, if they're like, oh, here's Hibiki's henshin thing, right? And like, he decided, oh, I'll use that to henshin, which you wouldn't because whenever you become your own Oni, you get your own henshin device. Like, it might be similar, but it's not going to be the same
So,
thing. So it's
so,
like,
oh god.
I could see that reformatting as like the Hibiki watch, but like it just appearing is such bullshit. I mean, I guess it makes sense for the story they're trying to do, but like it doesn't work like this. Go ahead.
So, so my thought process was Kiryu uses the Hibiki Ride Watch, which is why he becomes Hibiki. But then when he gives it up to Sogo, I figure like, well, maybe he technically still has his own like Oni form, so he still is an Oni. He didn't completely lose his powers like any other rider would. Uh,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. But I'm like, where the hell did this watch
no,
come from?
but like, okay,
Anyway,
to take this one step further though, like, because the Hibiki ride armor doesn't exist in the show, or at least not yet. I looked up what the toy model looks like, as and the suit looks more like Kiria's own Oni form rather than Hibiki's, which doesn't make any sense.
right? Like that completely doesn't make any sense. I mean, it makes sense because you're inheriting Kirya Hibiki's powers, but then like, okay, I get why they put the suit in the show. It's because like it's fucking Hibiki. We have to show Hibiki. But I'm like, it's a new Oni. You didn't have to show that,
Like,
right?
no, like if you're
It's
gonna have him
such
inherit Hibiki's power, like give Zi-O the Hibiki suit ride armor. Like
yeah, exactly.
the answer to this was simple. It's Hibiki. But
Right?
rather it looks like he has a Kyoki form instead.
Yeah, and then the problem is like if you're just gonna give him the Kyoki form, why did you even need the Hibiki watch?
Right?
Right? You could have just
Why did you go through all
have
that
him
trouble of of Kiria becoming Hibiki?
like you could have had him like inherit the title or whatever, and then just given his ride watch, and it would have been his Oni power.
I would have accepted that,
Or
but no, the watch clearly shows actual Hibiki.
yeah, it's stupid. Or like handed old Hibiki's henshin device to Sogo, and then like somehow it turned into a watch because I'm like I'm fine with that happening because like Sogo has weird powers, right? Like he can dream up shit and it becomes a reality, so I'm fine with him just holding the damn thing and just turning into a ride watch, right? Um, I don't know. It that seemed like I get what they were going for. It's just like it's like they were perfect until they that point where it just felt like okay, fuck it, we have no time, cop out and just get this over with somehow. So yeah, that kind of annoyed me. Anyway,
Anyway,
um, this ep- this episode.
so Zi-O gets excited and becomes Zi-O Trinity and uh, catching like the other two off guard because hadn't even henshined yet themselves.
I know, I love
And
that. They're like, wait, what? What are you
what
doing?
already? And then Waz starts doing his like rejoice thing, and Kira straight up stops them. Like, do you have to do this right now? We're kind of in the middle of a fight here.
Yeah, and then like Gates starts yelling. It's like, no, we don't. Like, get the hell on with it. That's freaking great. Um,
Uh,
yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Like, it depends on who shows up for Drive, because like if it's like Drive Tridon form and it has the whole like double switch thing going on, that'd be fun to see. We'll see what happens. But as for this episode, yeah, it's pretty good.
good fight scene. Uh, they rescue Sutomu, who becomes Kiria's pupil again, with Kiria officially being Hibiki now. Uh, and then Kiria gives up the ride watch to Sogo, saying, I achieved my dreams, you go achieve yours and become a Demon King or whatever.
Yeah, I love how he's like, yeah, whatever, man, just do
Yeah,
you. Um,
like, whatever that means, go on.
yeah, I love how like the uncle is like, wait, what do you mean, Demon King?
Yeah, during
I
the
was like, oh,
happy
don't.
birthday.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Uh,
Um,
no, he misspoke, he just meant king.
yeah, yeah.
Because,
That's
like,
pretty funny.
I was thinking about this whole time. Like, Waz is doing like his happy birthday speech. It's like this isn't this the first time Uncle has heard anything about Sogo being a Demon King, and it is, and they like call it out.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. Like he continues to be like a great side character. Um, this episode though, like I said, it was good. It's more like it's solid. Like as for the two parters we've gotten lately, like this has to be the weakest or one of the weaker ones. It's not bad. Like episode two is definitely good. It's just not quite as strong as some of the other ones. I mean, like it
Right.
feels the most like okay, this was like maybe
This
an episode and a half. We just needed to pad it to two, especially with the wild stuff.
right. This is this is more like the standard quality that I liked to have gotten during like the first arc, the earlier episodes that weren't that great. Uh, It's not as good as the Blade or Agito episodes, but those were above and beyond.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it all depends on like how the track record. Like it seems to be relatively like. Here's the thing. Even though this is not as great, it's still a pretty solid two-parter. So I'll give it a pass. It's
Also,
depends on what the remaining ones. Yeah, go ahead.
at the party, at the birthday party, they're all wearing party hats. Gaze is wearing his like a horn.
Yeah, he's always such a shithead. What he wants to be, right? Like, I mean, good job whoever was directing that or noticed that. That's pretty fun.
Or to the actor if he just kind of did that on his own.
Yeah, exactly. Whoever did that, good job. Look, small touches always appreciated. Um, and then have you noticed this weird thing of like lately all the people we see is just like related to Sogo, right? Like because like okay, we had like this kid who was in that accident,
Right.
right? Like his old friend now is like his first love is showing up in the Kiva one next episode.
Right.
It's like what the fuck is
Kiryu,
going on?
Sutom. Well, like I kind of like this because it establishes a connection to for Sogo to be involved with like these writer plots, even if it's so indirectly as like, yeah, he was classmates with a guy who is a pupil to an Oni that from like the very end of Hibiki. Like, yeah, that's a fucking obscure stretch, but that is a connection that pulls him in.
Yeah, like my problem is like it's cool that he's connected. It just never goes anywhere. It's like they basically like they do the two-parter and then the character disappears. I'm like, I guess that's what standard writer does, but I'm like,
Well, You're
I
right.
wish
We haven't
they would.
even heard from Hiryu since the another Zi-O stuff, but we know what
Yeah,
Tsutomu's doing. He's gonna be out in the wilderness learning how to be a man.
whatever. We'll see. Um, yeah, and then like I get it. It's tied to like Sogo, especially because like he's got the Demon King shit going on, and weird stuff might just be drawn to people around him, or like again, he's just getting involved.
Honestly, I
Because at this point, there's so much writer shit going on in Tokyo. Like it's probably pretty easy to stumble into some random writer plot.
honestly I would have liked it if like the Nether Riders were more people from Sogo's life because that would make it more personal for him being targeted by the Time Jackers. Like, we don't want you to become Omazio.
I mean, I can kind of get that, but it's like you have to write really very good stories to because the problem is like if you do that badly, it just shrinks the world. Whereas
Yeah.
like the threat is like these 50 people, you know? And it's like if all the writers just showed up and like pretending to be bodyguards or like just decided to throw down, like they could just end this right then and there. Whereas like having it like happen to random people kind of gives more of like, well, where the fuck were they supposed to look,
I,
you
I,
know, right?
I guess what I want is more reason for Sogo to have gotten involved in all this other than just being the generic good guy that jumps in to save the day.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get it. My thing, I that's one of the things, and the other thing I would have really liked is like a more Kiva type thing where it's like people stick around and like they come back and help you out, or like if it was like Kengo from Kiva
Right, like he starts
or
off as
or
like
Kotaro or
rocker bro,
Kotaro from
and then
Blade.
he comes back later as like a fucking military dude.
Yeah, I mean, first he was like trying to help Kiva and stuff. Like that was really cool. But it's I don't know. I just really like it whenever you have like superhero shit and you help someone and like later on they help you back. Like they don't have to be like in the like fighting on the street side by side with you, but like like how Kotaro helps like the Blade Gang and stuff, where it's like, hey, yeah, you need a place to stay, I got a place to stay. Like come help me, I'll help you. It's cool shit like that. Um, which honestly we don't get enough of. But then again, like it might just be weird, like the weirdos who like got so hooked up on Ryuki and like the like normal people also live in this crazy writer world that we like just want that to happen over and over, and whenever it shows up we're like, oh, this is great, and then like I don't know, maybe normal people who watch these shows aren't into that. It's kind of hard to tell, honestly.
Speaking of Kiva, though, next week we're getting Kiva.
Yeah, that's earlier than I thought it would show up, but
Uh,
I'm like, we've got like only a couple
yeah,
more left,
after
right?
Kiva we have Kabuto, Deno, and Drive.
So the weirdest thing is like Deno and Drive showing up again. It's like, why? Like we already have your shit, and like
No,
Deno was in the
no, no, no,
movie.
no. He did not get the Deno watch in that movie. Even though another
Okay,
Deno was one of the monsters in the movie, he did not get the Deno watch. He got the Kuga watch. He got the Kuga and the
that
double
makes
watch in
no
that movie.
that makes no sense. But
Vashi and
yeah,
I were
I
going
get
over this before. Uh,
this is so dumb. But I'm like, okay, fine. They just want to do it now. Then again, if they wanted, Xeranos is right there,
so that's what I'm
right?
wondering. Like, are we actually going to get Xernos in the Deno tribute?
Oh my
Are they
god,
going to
that'd be
do
so good.
the thing that we wanted with
Um,
Grease with Xernos?
yes, that would be so fun, but it's not happening. Because the thing is, like, Xeranos is not that comedic kind of like Grease and Otoya are really fun characters who would react, but Xeranos is kind of like way too straightforward for that type of shit. Unlikely. I mean, the thing is like, okay, you know what? Maybe New Deno shows up.
Yeah,
It's
maybe.
finally had it. he's finally had it with everybody's bullshit with this timeline shit,
Uh,
right? Like that'd be interesting. Like New Deno and like Future Drive or something. Um, but yeah, like the Kiva thing. It's interesting. I wonder if we're gonna get anybody besides Jiro. Like Jiro's a good choice because like the fucking immortal monster who lives in a goddamn um right. So like yeah, he could literally show up anytime. But it's like I wish like one of the writers would have shown up. But like
uh,
Jiro's still a cool pick.
if we get
I wonder
Saga
if it's like
in though,
yeah. I wonder if it's like future Jiro like 22 years in the future, like new Kiva Jiro.
ooh.
It's like stop messing with the fucking timeline. I have a time machine too, or at least a time door,
Uh,
right?
by the way,
Because like the three writers left are like the writers who can come back and be like, knock this shit off. We live in the future. You're fucking it up.
uh, by the way,
Yeah, go ahead.
you see the another Kiva suit, the monster.
No, I haven't seen it.
I'm gonna shoot you a picture, and I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
Uh, so it's uploading. Hold
Oh,
on.
that's another Hibiki suit. Actually, looks really nice. It
It
looks
does.
almost like a weird like G3 hybrid.
So here's another Kiva alongside like the
Holy
monsters.
shit, the monster.
Now here's
The
my question:
rebelled.
does another Kiva look more like another Dark Kiva to you?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I'm like, you know what it actually looks like?
What?
1986 King.
Oh, his straight up monster form.
Similar. I mean, like he had a lot more black, but like he looks kind of like that. So I'm like,
Uh,
yeah, you're right. Dark Kiva would be closer, but like all the like king forms of Kiva kind of look like Emperor or Dark Kiva anyway. So it's like I don't
let's
know.
see
I mean,
here.
like yeah, you could say it's another Kiva, or it's like it's just another fungi. I don't know. It's weird that like the monsters are showing up and they're rebelling, or
Uh,
something's happening. I don't know what's going on with that.
trying to find a picture of
Hey,
his monster
you
form.
want to see you
There it
want
is.
to see the most insane pull? So we're getting like a female character as like a thing, right? Like the main plot next episode. Are we actually gonna get the one female writer who beat a male writer and lived?
Are you talking about
Kiva.
Kivala? We're
Yeah,
pro we're probably not
that.
gonna get Kivala. We're probably not.
Hey, at this point, we've gotten two decade writers. I want to see the third one. It was
Uh,
such a nice suit
Four
too.
if you count Abyss.
What abyss?
Kamen Rider
Oh,
Abyss debuted in
uh,
Decade.
oh, the O's thing.
No, Ryuki.
Oh yeah, the blue Ryuki one. Right.
He had a minor cameo in the Ryuki special before immediately dying.
yeah, yeah. Well, the thing is, they didn't want to use Fem. I'm like, fucking hell, are you serious? That kind of annoyed me, to be honest.
Also,
But
you're
whatever.
right. The another Kiva does look straight up like the 1986 King.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. Hell, to be fair, like the fungi are one of the like interesting monsters because they live for like hundreds of years, right? Like they've probably seen so much time travel fuckery that they're like, knock this shit off, or they want to fucking use it as like their own time shenanigans because like they're always up to something, like different factions of fungi, or at least like they're basically vampires. They're like spirit vampires, but like imagine any plot line with vampires, and basically you can apply it to the fungi. So it's like,
Yeah,
you can pretty
they're
much write any story you want, right?
like
Uh,
they're like vampires, but they can go out at all hours of the day, and they don't suck your blood; they swallow your soul.
Yeah, so spirit vampires, but they're pretty awesome. Um, and the other thing is like they just need to be satisfied. Like that's the weird thing. So they've got like more of a serial killer thing kind of go. Well, some of them do. Where it's like some of them can go like decades without needing to eat again, and then some of them are like, "Fuck it, I just want to kill another dude." You know? Um, yeah, it's Kiva. Like the fungi are an interesting race, especially the stuff that happens in Kiva. It's like I want to see like the reforms and stuff put in place after like what Kiva did and like the new king and all that. Um, I wonder if that's gonna play into this. That would be really cool to see. Anyway, now we're speculating on an episode that's not
Right.
even out. Um,
Uh,
but this one was solid.
yeah. Final
Not
thoughts on this
the
episode.
greatest, but not bad. Yeah,
This was a good episode. Like, which is all I can really ask for. Like I said, I wish that more of the early episodes were this quality. The show would have been a lot better just if they were at least this. Uh, but hey, show is good now. Uh, so thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. No Beast Morphers tomorrow because the show's on hiatus, so that will return when the show does. So we'll be back on Tuesday for more Ryu Soldier. See you next time.
yeah. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll catch you next time.